What is up, everyone? Mark here, and let me be among the first to wish you a very Merry Christmas. It is Christmas, and making sure this video goes out a little bit earlier in the day than it normally would, because I have a breakfast recipe. A very simple breakfast recipe and a very comforting and delicious breakfast recipe. We are going to make a good old-fashioned biscuits and gravy. Biscuits from scratch and sausage gravy from scratch, breakfast sausage. I think it's something that'll really hit the spot. It's perfect for the time of year. We've all had a really rough 2020. Most of us are going to be celebrating Christmas in smaller groups today. So today's recipe is really geared for, again, as I've done a lot of times, just 2 people. But you can easily double it or quadruple it or triple it or whatever you want to make it for a group if you like. But again, this is going to be a simple breakfast of 2 biscuits with sausage gravy for 2. So before we get into the recipe, I want to thank you all again for continuing to support my channel and continuing to watch these videos. Please give the videos a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Please subscribe if you have not already. Click the red button down below or the watermark in the corner. And when you do, make sure you hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I have a new video out. All right, let's get started. All right, this is one of those super simple recipes. 2-ingredient biscuits, or at least these can be 2-ingredient biscuits. We have 1 cup or about 150 grams of flour. Now, if you have self-rising flour, which is flour that already has some leavening mixed into it, then you can use that and the cream, and that's all you need. I have all-purpose flour. I do not have self-rising flour, so I'm going to use a cup of all-purpose flour with 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And we're gonna whisk that in, and that will be the equivalent. And we have about 2/3 of a cup, or of 150 grams of heavy cream. And then just a little bit more heavy cream that we're gonna brush on top of the biscuits before they go into the oven. So the first thing we're gonna do, and not like this as many steps, is add the baking powder and the salt to the flour. And we just wanna whisk that together to combine the dry ingredients. That should be good enough. All right, and now I'm going to just slowly start to add the cream, a little at a time, probably about in thirds, and mix it with a rubber spatula or a wooden spoon, and just get it until the cream is incorporated each time. It's going to be a sticky, lumpy dough, but we're waiting for it to just start to come together. And we just want to work this until there's no more real dry flour left in the bottom of the bowl, and that it has all come together. Okay, now you may need to flour your work surface, but I don't think I'm going to. Or I don't think I'm going to need to. Need to. Get it? That was bad. I'm sorry. All right, so contrary to what I just said, we don't really want to knead this too much. We just kind of want to press it out into a roughly 6-inch square. I may not even need to roll this, but I'm going to fold one side toward the middle. Press it down, fold the other side toward the middle, and press it down. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees and kind of work it back into a square. A rough square is just fine. All right, we're going to repeat that. Fold it towards the middle. Okay, now, last time we're going to form it into a square again. And this is our final biscuit shape. Okay. Transfer this to a parchment-lined baking sheet. And we're gonna cut it into 4 roughly equal-sized biscuits. Use just a little bit of breathing room. And I'm going to brush the tops with that little bit of extra heavy cream. Okay, now these are going to go into a preheated 450-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes or until they are brown on the top, and then we will pull them out. And they really only need to cool for a few minutes before we can serve them, so I'm not too worried about timing there. While these are baking, I'm going to get a few things cleaned up and get ready to start making our sausage gravy, and we will come back and start working on that. All right, our biscuits are over there cooling, and they came out of the oven about 15 minutes, look pretty good. In the meantime, we are going to get started on our sausage gravy. So for this, we need about a half a pound of breakfast sausage, a tablespoon or 2 of butter, about 2.5 tablespoons, give or take, of flour, 1 teaspoon of poultry seasoning. It doesn't have to be any particular type of poultry seasoning, and that's kind of optional. It's a well-established flavor profile for breakfast sausage, poultry seasoning, the herbs and spices that are in it. So if you can add that, it'll give you a little bit more of that flavor. You might be using breakfast sausage that already has some of that flavoring in it, or you might be using a completely different kind of sausage that you think just might lend itself well to a cream gravy. Totally up to you. We then also have 1 cup of whole milk, and that is really it. So we're gonna get our heat going medium and melt our butter. I'm going to add our sausage. And I just want to get it broken up in the pan as it starts to cook. And we are going to just cook this through. Should just take a few minutes. Now, you can season the sausage with a little bit of salt and pepper if you like as it cooks. I'm not doing that only because I know that the sausage is going to be kind of salty enough as it is, and I'm adding some other seasonings. Extra salt and pepper can always be added at the end when we're serving. In fact, a good cream gravy is usually good with a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper. So again, we're just going to kind of let this keep going for a few minutes until it's got a little bit of color in some spots and is completely cooked through. Now you're going to get some fat and grease from the sausage, but it shouldn't be too much. If it looks like a lot more than what I have here when I move on to the next step, then you may want to spoon some of it off or drain it a little bit, but that's totally up to you. We definitely want there to be some fat in there to help with making the sauce. This is nearly cooked through. I'm just going to give it a minute or so untouched so that it can develop a little bit of color. Alright, I think this looks pretty good. We are going to add our flour. Now, we don't want to just dump it in. I'm going to carefully kind of sprinkle it over the surface. And the point here is to kind of cook the flour so that it doesn't have so much of a raw, doughy taste. It's going to be a thickener for our sauce, and we want it to kind of soak up some of this fat as it cooks. We're making a roux. We're going to continue to cook this just a minute or two until that the raw flour smell is kind of cooked off and it starts to thicken. And you can see it's starting to darken a little bit. It's not quite so pale white, the flour mixture. Alright, I'm going to add the poultry seasoning and stir this in kind of quickly just to sort of bloom those spices before I start adding the milk. Alright, now we want to be careful with this because it is probably going to splatter. Stir this in and keep it moving. It's probably going to thicken pretty quickly. Just keep it at a simmer. You can reduce it if it gets too hot. But at this point, you know, most of this is done. We're really just looking for the sauce to thicken up a little bit, or gravy. And that will be it. I can tell you it smells delicious. This is thickening up pretty nicely, so I'm going to reduce the heat way down. Alright, I think we are ready to serve this. Kill the heat. I'm going to go grab our biscuits and I'll be right back. Alright, we are ready to give this a taste. I'm going to take a biscuit and a little bit of gravy. Let's see how that biscuit came out. It's a surprisingly good tender biscuit for basically 2 ingredients. And the poultry seasoning definitely gives it more. This is really good. That's it for this one, guys. Merry Christmas, and we will see you in the next video.